Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with me today is Birgitta Visser. She is a light language healer, divine channel, and soul empowerment coach, as well as an author. She is simply here to plant a food for thought seed and unlock one's own true potential into a better understanding of oneself and the universe, being merely a guide, a compass for you to get your tangled bearings right, here to help you live the life you have always envisioned by unveiling your soul's purpose. Welcome to the show, B. It's really great to have you here.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us your story. How did you get into doing this?
Life experiences, and not the nice kind. And I think but it's really funny because as of late, always people talk about good and bad experiences, but it's just an experience that you go through. And I think that's a shift in perspective. And I really had to learn that. I've moved more than 50 times in my lifetime. It's insane. I'm like this nomad, like this seeker, but I've lived everywhere in the world. And I think through trauma, and we all go through trauma, of what my guides always say, of varying degrees, so to put it. But for me, it was being abused by a friend of the family as a kid, like 10 or 11 years old. And it kind of snowballed from there. And because we don't heal from trauma at that age, I think times have changed now. But at that time, I was a kid. I didn't even know what was happening. So I bottled it up. And from that, it kind of snowballed. I lost my dad when I was 14 to coronary heart disease. He was extremely spiritual, but he was out of a job, and he was just tired of life and didn't take his medication, kind of like hopped on the bicycle and cycled and fell off his bike and took a last breath, and that was kind of it. And he was 44, so he was very, very young.
Really young.
And that was really hard on my mom and, also my sister and I. Losing your dad at that age, but it's always difficult losing a parent at any age. And I was already suffering. I was tall and I was skinny, but I was also bullied in high school in Holland, and that didn't help. And I was just scared. I was just scared of boys, and I would find another route to the classroom if I saw a guy in the hallway, which is crazy. But that's how deeply ingrained that fear was. And even when we went to Belgium for a what do you call it, like school trip, and we went to the Ardennes, the forest, and there was this kid, and he can't even remember it. And he held up my arm in front of the whole class, and he's like, "Look how skinny she is," which was horrific for me. Horrific. Yep. Yeah, and I remember it to this day, but a lot of the times, bullies will not remember the impact they made on those that they've really hurt. And yeah, also, I walked around like the Hunchback of Notre Dame because I just wanted to be invisible. So my mom put me on this course when I was about 16, a modeling course, just to crick up my confidence. But, when you carry that much trauma, it doesn't it doesn't lighten the weight. And even in the modeling industry, I mean, I tried it, and nobody liked my look. They were like, "Oh, you look too much like Brooke Shields or Nikki Taylor." And I thought, "Well, that's great," but I wasn't thick-skinned. I really wasn't thick-skinned. I was naive, and I didn't dress right. Well, I didn't want to. I didn't want to dress sexy. Come on. I'm like 17, 18 years old. I just wanted to wear my jeans and cover up. And whenever I went to castings throughout the years, I was always rejected, always, regardless of where I went in the world. And that's why I could never live on it. Otherwise I'd be living under a bridge. But instead, I learned how to bartend. I was doing hostessing work. I was doing promotional gigs, and yeah, that's how I managed. And I did some gigs here and there, freelance. So, but at the age of 25, I also lost my stepdad to cancer. And that was tough. He was like, he always said, you're like a daughter to me. And my mom was leaning quite heavily on me, and I didn't really have an outlet. And so I had these friends, and I take full responsibility. But I rolled into drugs for several months, Molly, and I blacked out, and it was just horrific. But I was still working. But there's one thing I do remember, and I don't really talk about this. It's funny, but it's popped in my head. I remember going to the funeral home when my stepdad, was, and my mom said to me, "Take his favorite teddy with you and put it in the casket." So I did, but I'm standing there, and it was like so overbearing. It's like he was standing in a corner watching me. And I was like, "No, I can't have this right now." And so there in the casket, and I ran out the door. And yeah, I still miss him, but I from time to time he pops in. And so yes, I rolled into drugs, and from one day to the next, I was just like, yeah, I can't be doing this, suffering blackouts, not knowing what's happening. And I also rolled into dysfunctional relationships, which was a given, of course, because I was so broken on the inside. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed these experiences so that they would trigger me. I was like this little donkey. I was like, whoa, what did I do wrong? A lot of the times it's like, but why don't they want to be with me? And why can't I be happy? It was very, very often like that. So I had so many dysfunctional, well, not so many, several dysfunctional relationships. And I kind of hit rock bottom in, I think it was 2009 in Holland, when my ex was like a part-time crack addict, and he was held for ransom. I needed to help him out. I needed to help the police. And it was like, I had never seen this. And he wanted to get better, you know, um, get rid of his addiction, but he couldn't enter a rehab in Holland because he needed to have a Dutch social, and he was from the US. But there are so many things that I did, and it was a repetitive pattern where I wanted to fix them. And you cannot fix another. It's really about fixing and repairing yourself. And I wasn't looking at myself. And in a way, I enabled them because I was paying for so much. And it wasn't just this person, it was another one after that. And I finally came to the realization many years later. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you paying their bills? Why are you getting groceries for them? Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to find them jobs? And it was all really to keep um to keep my own hurt at bay, because I was afraid of hurting them. And I was really a doormat for many, many people. It was like, oh, yeah, we can go to Birgitta and we can ask her because she will never say no. She's like, yeah, I'll help you. I'll help you. And that's what it was. But when I hit that rock bottom, because it was a pretty scary experience, and I mean, he got deported. I helped the police out and he got deported back to the US. But I downed a whole box of ibuprofens, and I was already back in the UK because my mom had she'd moved me in the space of several days from Holland back to the UK. And I just downed a whole box of ibuprofens, and I was like, oh, do you know what? I don't really care anymore. But I woke up like 12 hours later and I thought to myself, "Wow, I can't live like this." And so I went to see a counselor about, as I always say, the counselor said to me at the end of my whole, story, she's like, "Oh, Brigitte, you're going to be fine. You're strong enough." And that was the onset to my holistic journey because I wanted to get better. I didn't want to go on like this. And so I studied many healing modalities, but I commenced with Reiki healing. And it was amazing. That was amazing for me. And so I studied level 1 and 2 in the space of like 1.5 years. Studied EFT as well, the emotional freedom technique, which I really love because it's so simple of tapping out the emotions out of the traumatic experience. That's what it is
Doesn't
because we're
doesn't
energy.
seem like it should be doing anything, but it is so freaking powerful.
Yes.
It's just like all I have to do is tap on a few things,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and magically things happen. I don't know why it works, but I've had experiences where it has worked. It's
Yep.
just like every experience I've ever had with it, it does work.
Yes, it does. And people always think that healing should be extremely difficult, but it's actually not. It's really simple, but it doesn't really matter how we decide to heal. I always say to people, just because something doesn't resonate with what I may do, you may find something else that resonates with your soul, and that's exactly what you've got to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, I became a meditation teacher as well. I studied aromatherapy, aroma touch, relaxation therapy, oh, angelic Reiki, so many things. And every little bit was like a piece of the puzzle. And don't think my life was rosy after that because life's not like that. And I just had to go through a lot more experience. And also when I moved to the US, to St. Petersburg in Florida, I'd met someone else. Oh my gosh, and he was super needy. He's doing well for himself now. I'm really glad. But he lost his mom. He had a reckless, and he was like a relentless pug. On my leg, and he wouldn't let go. And so I had to help him, and he moved from an hour away to 2 doors down from me, which wasn't helping my cause. And I sold my home to get away from him at the time.
Wow.
And yeah, I know it's insane. And then he had to move out, and I helped him financially as well. And that's the thing where I said, I enabled them, but I had to learn. And it was like the guys up there, the universe is like, oh, let's see what Brigitta's going to do now. And boom, she did it again. And but I also so yeah, I moved somewhere else and it was a bit of a money pit, so I made a loss on that house. Um But that was a learning curve for me. But what did happen is I was so exasperated. I would be lying on the floor and crying and screaming at the universe, saying, I don't want to go on like this anymore. Please help me. And so there was a little breadcrumb that I became aware of in the form of Kambo healing, which is the shamanic frog medicine. And very, very physical and amazing healing because you purge. And it's just I didn't do too much research on it because I don't like to cap my expectations. I am like that. But I went and I was in Florida and I went to see the shaman and he burned 4 points in my leg. So that burnt the top skin, 4 points. And then he put the frog poison on there. Well, in 10 seconds, I swear I was purging into the bucket. And it lasted for several hours. And, you run up and down to the toilet and the shaman helps you because it comes out everywhere. But you feel so cleansed after that. And I went another time, the second time round, and it was much easier for me. But what it did do for me when I went home is I made a whole bucket list of things that I wanted to do. So it was like, I promised my stepdad back in 2000 that I would start running for charity and for cancer. And I finally started to do that in 2016. So a little late, but I still started to do it. And I went skydiving because I had a fear of heights, which was a little bit insane. So these were things that I just wanted to do. I got rid of so much stuff in my house just to declutter it. And then my guide kicked me out of my house and said, "You've got to go to this fair." I'm like, "I'm not going." "Yes, you are." So I went because it was only a 5-minute walk, and that's where I met my mentor, Alania Starhawk, and she is an Akashic record healer. So she actually helps people walk through past lives. And it's pretty powerful because it's energy. So because my ex was so relentless in Florida, I was in this like fight or flight mode for a long time. And we do it to ourselves, but she cleared a past life where he poisoned me, and she cleared that. And it was really funny what happened after that because the energy changed and he let me be, which was great. So for the time that I was still in the US, I just did my own thing. And I mean, yes, I was teaching people. I did a lot of workshops. I attuned people because I'm a Reiki master. And yeah, and then I did a workshop on channeling. And when I did that, I zoned out during the meditation. I have no idea where I went. But when everybody was saying they saw the Ascended Masters, got messages, you name it, I was really upset on the inside. And there was a really simple exercise that Alania gave, and it's really sitting there with a pen and paper or a notepad and saying to the universe or your guides, I'm ready and open to receive. And that's exactly what I did when I got back home. I did that, and I think my mind was so far gone that I didn't even think, it just flowed. And when I read it back, it was really old English prose. And I started to do it every single day. And after that, I just got my cards out, whether it was the Ascended Masters, the Archangels, you name it. And I just picked a card and asked if they had a message to convey to me. And that's, for me, that's how it's started. And I finally thought, you know what? I'm actually good at something. But it's really about finding your niche. And I mean, I still channel a lot because I really, really love it. But yeah, I mean, over the years, I learned light language as well. And yeah, I keep learning and I keep growing and evolving. That doesn't mean my life is easy. It's been a tough 2 years, but I understand the experiences that happened to me. And so that's that shift in perspective where we're not the victim anymore. But it's like, okay, you know what? How can we release this experience? How can we heal from it? And we take the steps to do it. So life becomes easier because we don't huff and puff like the big bad wolves. We reflect rather than, as I always say, deflect. And it becomes easier.
Do you feel like it's a process of relaxing into how you feel about different situations?
Yes, that's a good point. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I look back now and honestly, Jill, people don't always understand it, but I'm thankful for everything that I've been through. Without it, I wouldn't have a story to tell, that's for sure. I wouldn't be able to write any books, but and to inspire and to empower others. But life is just a series of experiences, some fortunate, some unfortunate. It's just how you view it, but never remain stagnant where you are. And we do that, and then life passes us by.
A lot of it has to do with how we perceive what's going on in the
Yes.
experiences, and could actually change the past just by reconsidering how you're remembering those experiences.
Yes. Yep.
So I know you're an author and I know you're coming out with a new book. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes, it's called Child of the Sun, En route to enlightenment in India. Well, I'm very far from enlightenment still, because I'm learning every single day. But that was an amazing journey. I've actually been invited back to the Art of Living Center in Bangalore recently. So not sure if I'll go this year or early next year. We'll see. But yes, it's really about breathwork, meditation, and how, and I think meditation is so powerful, especially when you do it in the morning and in the evening, because you just let go. And I love guided meditations. I used to love David G. They're 20 minutes. But I'm very much into the Psychic Soul, or Whispers of the Wild. Love that one. It's amazing. And yeah, so I talk about a lot of things. I talk about depression. A friend of mine, she passed away many years ago, but she was at the Art of Living, and when she returned to the UK, I think 2 years later, she committed suicide. Life got too much for her. She was very young, but she was such a beautiful soul. And so I talk about that. Of course, it's infused with the many channeled messages from the Indian deities, like Krishna, Ganesh, Shiva, Kali, Hanuman, and of course Saint Germain, because I work a lot with the Ascended Master Saint Germain and also Archangel Michael. And everyone channels them differently, but they've always channeled about the wisdom of life in a humorous way. And we do take life very seriously. And I know the saying, you know what, we don't get out of life anyway. But it's really about the underlying understanding that it's just an experience. That's what we need to understand. So yeah, I talk about relationships and love. I talk about the twin flame aspect, because I went through a horrendous period this June and July, where my ex from 2009, I thought he had made changes after 15 years, and I had done so much healing work, and that was a really powerful experience, because it was he had mental health issues. He was self-medicating. He was just screaming and shouting at me, very abusive. He pretty much destroyed my home. So I had to cleanse it completely. It took me 2 days because I was pretty much banned and working and sleeping in my spare bedroom. And I'd had enough. And that was the very first time that I actually stood up for myself and told him, get out of my house. And he did. And then he came back again and, lost a lot of weight a week later, went through his money, whatever happened to it. He's back in the US now, but he came back again the next day and I'd had enough. And I called security and they advised me to call the cops. And they escorted him off the urbanization. Um, and and I understood the experience. And it needed to happen because I needed to close the door. After 15 years, I needed to close that door. And I was surprised at how mentally strong I was. I bounced back pretty quick. But what happened was the trauma hit me so hard physically. Um, it was like, I mean, yes, I had acid reflux. It was like I couldn't move. I suffered from inflammation of my whole rib cage, so I could hardly breathe and walk. And I remember saying to the universe after 4 days, I said, and I went to see the doctor as well. And she said to me, Birgitta, why did you wait so long? And she's like, why do you keep going? You keep going, you keep working, you keep at it. I said, because that is kind of who I am. I said, it's just physically, it hit me hard. And so I cried out to the universe and I said, I don't want to live this like this. I really need some help in getting better. And funnily enough, the next day it started to ease. It started to ease. And I'm also not ashamed to say, you know what, when I need to get healing, I will get it. So I have a go-to light language healer, Louise Roach. She's amazing. And she cleared a lot of the layers. And I'm fine now. Um, and again, it was just an experience. And there is no point in saying, yeah, but maybe this person will change. Maybe we can get back together. No, if you're not singing from the same hymn sheet, just take a deep bow in gratitude and shut the door and say goodbye. It's okay. We're all here to learn from one another. Yeah, to me, he wasn't a villain. My ex wasn't a villain. He was just a beautiful reflection and a teacher. Something he was like chaos. It was like chaos that needed to enter my life to make me see and to make me open my eyes. And I think I look back and I think it was a wonderful experience because I learned so much. And now that I've shut the door, when we shut doors, yeah, other doors do open. Things start to flow. We don't always see that when we're in it, when we're in an experience, but once we get out of it and we heal, we shut the door, other things come into our lives. That's the way the universe works. That's.
It is. It's totally the way the universe works. It's like it's almost like changing timelines. You When you close one door, you just kind of step onto a different timeline that's going to take you in a different direction. Because had you stayed in that situation, then a whole different cascade of events would have ensued because actions have reactions and
Yes.
consequences. And by closing the door on that, you're allowing other experiences to unfold. It's kind of like
Yes.
you get to write your story, you get to write the ending of your story, and at any moment you can change timelines,
Yes.
plot twist, whatever you want to call it, but you can just like decide, I'm not going to continue on this trajectory. I'm going to do something that's going to cause a change in trajectory. And
Yeah.
it might not, when you're pivoting, often it doesn't feel like anything has changed really, because it doesn't have to be a dramatic thing. I mean, what you just
No,
went through was a dramatic thing, but we make these kinds of decisions every day in our
we do.
lives. And they're going to cause a different outcome. And
Yes,
there's like so many different outcomes that we can experience at any given time. I think it
absolutely.
kind of circles back to your thoughts about meditating in the morning and at night. I love that because that is when I meditate also. It's
Oh,
when your
yeah,
body is naturally slowed down instead of trying to do it in the middle of the day when you're all revved up and you have to really drag your mind back to like, let's just like slow down here. Um, you get so much more clarity during
yes,
those times in a shorter period of time. Um,
I agree.
so I know you have a coaching program. You do coach people. It's at some
I do.
level.
Yeah, so it's light
How does that
language
work?
healing that I do. So it's and these are people often ask me what is light language, and it's like the cosmic language of love. It's frequency because we are frequency. And this is something I was sitting down and it was several days ago and I put this into my book and I was like, actually you're right. This is Saint Germain and he says, your sacred geometry, you are frequency. Fine tune yourself. That's how simple it is. And I said, yeah, I understand that, but it's really about explaining that to people because they see their experiences and everything that they go through as being real. And yeah, it is real to, well, I call it an illusion. It's just an experience, but people need to just elevate themselves. It's like, when you change your perspective, it's like when you're up in a plane. When I was skydiving, it was like, oh my gosh, the world down there is so small. And we make drama out of everything. And it's like, why do we do that? Because it's so minuscule compared to the whole universe, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So, but light language is you're not going to understand it on a conscience level. Your mind's like, what the heck? What is she doing? And but your soul understands the light code just beautifully. And that is actually what it's all about. And it's been a very interesting process for me because I'm one of these freaky ones. At night, sometimes the light language will just come out and it's before sleep. And it's like it's been changing. And I love that. I love that. And there's a really great exercise, by the way, where you use the unemployed angels or the volunteer angels. And I call upon them. I used to call upon them years ago, and I recently started calling upon them again. And I write it down and I ask for everything that I write down, every task that I have that I would like help with, whether it's with health or anything else. I say, I ask an unemployed angel of the highest vibrational love and compassion to help me with or to assist me with, and you write it down. And as you write it, and as you keep asking an unemployed angel for however many tasks you have, you can just feel the energy in the room because they are there like that. And they've helped me in the past couple of weeks, and I can just cross it off. And every time I cross something off, it's like, thank you so much for helping me with that.
Just simple things that people can employ in their own lives. I I sing in angel language sometimes. It just comes out, but it
Yep,
comes out as music to me.
that's amazing.
I don't usually do it in company. Freaks people out, but it yeah,
That's
it just
amazing.
makes you feel good. And it
Yes.
just you don't have to understand it. It doesn't have to mean anything. It just comes out and it's not even like you're you're not even conscious of it. If you could just like shut your mind off and just let it come out, it's really beautiful and it's yeah, it's an interesting experience for you to have for yourself that
Mm.
I know the power in having someone else share light language over you, which is different.
Yep.
And
They are. Mhm. Yeah, that's that. There, it's like wanting to come through right now, but because they're talking about, it's really funny. They're talking about, normally I ask, I don't mind giving a demo of light language, happy to do it, but they're actually talking about people. Oh, what is it? Okay. People opening up their inner lotus flower and allowing themselves to blossom within their inner world, but also their outer world. Because what they're saying, I mean, my guys are saying, everything starts from within. And when you nurture your inner garden, you will nurture your outer garden and your environment.
of that. I was talking to somebody on Facebook today. She had posted something about um, the new being and the old being.
Yep.
What are you trying to be new about? And she was talking about a farm that was in her family for 80 years. And it reminded me of a rose bush, a really old rose bush, because rose bushes can live for hundreds of years. That the root, even grapes are like this, the root is what's so old. every year a new crop comes and their blossoms are beautiful and sweet, but they're all nourished by this really old piece. And
Yep.
it kind of, it's like the lotus flower that blooms within you. We're all
Yep.
old. Our we are
Souls.
part
Yeah.
of the I am, the source.
Yes, we are. Yes.
We're all
Yes.
connected, and each of us has that spark, the lotus flower inside of us that can blossom if we allow
Yes.
it. And
Yep.
it's totally our choice how we
Yes,
do
it
it.
is. Oh, absolutely. And just because we don't get it right in this lifetime, that doesn't matter. And
It's about
it
the
doesn't matter.
experience, and there's not a right and a wrong. There's just
Nope.
an experience
Yep.
and how we
And
perceive it and how we choose to change our perception of it
yes.
at any given time.
Yep. And does it matter how long it takes us to heal? No, it doesn't matter. You have to do it at your own pace.
And
Yeah.
healing is the journey. It's
Yes.
That's the whole thing. We all have trauma. It's the point. And to be able to find joy in life, even though you've had these experiences, it's like, how can we learn the lesson from the experience, no matter how bad it was? And there are some people that go through things that are like so horrible, but it's being
Yep.
conscious of, okay, that's the experience I had. And instead of getting stuck in victimhood or in being a bully or in being responsible for everybody's happiness, and we all kind of like cycle through each of those little
Hmm.
categories from time to time, but
Yep.
it's being able to sit in the center and say, but now I'm okay. Now things are good. In this moment, I choose to be at peace. I
Yep.
choose love. I choose happiness. I don't have to think about what went on in the past, and I don't have to think about what's going on in the future. I can just
Very
sit
good.
with this right now and
Yep.
enjoy it.
Yeah. And I was when I was in India, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Guruji, I call him Guruji, he said, you cannot breathe in the past. You can't breathe in the future, but you can breathe in the present moment. And that is where you create. That is where you make the changes. And, we are all divine alchemists. We change things from lead to gold. We change things from the heaviness, healing that, and we become a far more enlightened version of ourselves. And that's what it's all about. Unless we want to remain as lead, and go ahead. But yeah, and that's just alchemizing our experiences.
Going from darkness to light.
Yes, absolutely. I call
Very
darkness.
nice.
Darkness is. I call that. I came with this word, and they call it decalcification. It's a decalcification within yourself. So of the bacteria, and infusing that with the antibiotics of light. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And then they go, yeah, it's like from morbid to orbit. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
That a lot. So B, your book is coming out beginning of November, middle of
Yes.
November. Okay. So as listeners are listening to this episode, you'll be able to find her book, her brand new book, over on her website. And why don't you share that with the audience?
Yeah, so the website's going to be, my website is powersoulhealing.com. Can I just add something? So there are exercises in there as well.
Mhm,
There are mantras in there and other little things to help you along your way.
mhm. Awesome. So it's an experiential read rather than
It,
just a light read.
it's
Like,
I do take the Mickey out of myself because I'm not taking the Mickey, but I see life very differently now. So I take a lot of things very lighthearted.
mhm,
And that's basically the key ingredient or the main ingredient of the book. And that's very much reflected within the channeled messages as well. So it will be a joy to read, because that's what they're saying as well. It's all about not just returning to that love for ourselves and each other, but finding that joy and cultivating that joy within.
Yes. The purpose of life is to experience joy.
Yes.
I look forward to reading it too. So, how can people get in touch with you if they want light healing?
Yeah, so again, through my website, but powersoulhealing.com, but I'm also on Instagram and on YouTube.
Okay,
Yeah, my Instagram is Universal Light Warriors, and my YouTube is Power Soul Healing.
perfect. So, what's the one thing you hope the audience takes away from the conversation we've had today? I know
Ooh,
we've covered
well, that life,
so much.
that life is all about transformation. Yeah, we start out as a caterpillar, and eventually we keep transforming, yeah, and we transform into this beautiful butterfly, and we just keep growing and expanding our consciousness through the levels of through we level up through our experiences, and once we heal them, life becomes simpler. It becomes easier to understand. It's like as we age, as we grow older, we understand life more than when we're like 15 years old. And live your life with passion and with purpose, whatever you decide to do, because it's all about how you feel about yourself. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. It's really important how you feel about yourself, and just follow your inner guide. Um, Follow your inner guide to your yellow brick road of blah blah blah, your yellow brick road of happiness. Yes.
Little tough to get out.
Yes,
Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you so much for having me, Jill.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.